Hey, it's Juck. We are not bemoaning the noon kickoff. We are now owning it. It's a badge of honor. We're the lunatic fringe that defines our coach's legacy when it comes to this game. They don't get to define that outside the family. Dude, we're cut from a different cloth. For Ohioans, he's got it all, man. He's even got the jaw. You know the jaw. You see that jaw, and you're just like, yeah, man, that's a dude. Do I want Michigan to beat Oklahoma? No way in hell. I don't know what world I'm living in. This is insane to me. And if you saw my outburst, I apologize. It's showtime now. Welcome into Juck on Bucks for a quick little update and a couple of odds and ends, a few videos I wanted to show you. We were just talking yesterday about wide receiver coach Cortez Hankton, his record before coming to Ohio State and kind of what we were going to see and anticipating what we were going to see when he gets into his first recruiting class. Guys that have fallen off the board, other guys that he's gotten in on. And this is the week that we're going to see some action. Well, we've seen some more action. The week started off with him offering Torian Rollins, that is the 3-star out of Georgia who we watched. It was really, really exciting. Come on. No. Are you kidding me? All right. And then he also visited big Deshaun Hall out of Prattville, Alabama, 6'5", top 150 receiver. And Deshaun Hall, 660 yards, 6 touchdowns, not a huge stat stuffer, but we don't know how much his offense passes. But we got another one to talk about now. As middle of April, we had a visitor at Ohio State by the name of Trey Hall and Trey Moore. And Trey is a top 160 wide receiver in the country. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. So another big body wide receiver. And that's the important part here. I think you got to add a big body this year because when you look at next year's receiver room, you've got Chris Henry Jr., you've got Jaquaden Guilford at 6'3", Brock Boyd at 6'1.5", but everybody else a little shorter. There's a lot of slot bodies. And when we're looking at Jameer Brown, who's just 6 foot, if you could get Blake Wong, 6'1", if you got like a Torian Rollins, we're looking at 5'11". So you got to get a big body in this class. And Trey Hall certainly fits the bill. So out of Pflugerville, I looked them up. Pflugerville Weiss plays Division 5A football in Texas, which is their Division 2, which for Ohio. And in the state of Ohio, that's the toughest division. Now, it's not like that in Texas, but, definitely he's a guy who's playing against some high school DBs, putting up 1,400 yards and 19 touchdowns, which is just stat stuff and numbers. And that makes me excited. When we talk about traits versus production, sometimes high schools are different. There's like the kid from Prattville. Maybe his high school doesn't pass the ball much. Though if I was his coach and I had a 6'5" wide receiver who was the Alabama high school basketball player of the year, I'd be passing the ball a whole heck of a lot more. But there's wide receivers in the state of Ohio that have come out of Ohio and Pennsylvania where you can't really look at a ton of production or lack of production and fault them for that because there's a lot of states that just don't pass the ball like that. Texas, we know, is one. And we love those kids who have had all that experience and have developed all these skills with higher level coaching at wide receiver. But this kid his size, you can see it on the screen. He's so much bigger than all these DBs. He moves really, really well, got a good set of hands. And this would be a pretty big score. Now, he has announced his final 3, and his final 3, Miami, Washington, and Ohio State. He has chosen to spurn Texas and Texas A&M in favor of Miami, Ohio State, and Washington, which I found that a pretty interesting mix. I think that's the first time I've heard that final 3 paired together, maybe in my life. We're all over the country here. I kind of like this kid. I think that's interesting. I like unique, and he sounds pretty unique. We have got our guy, Matt Guerrieri, who has done really good getting his top-tier target every year, was down visiting Jaden Aparicio Bailey, who is one of the top guys on his board. If we pull up the safety big board, you can see that all the way on the top left there is a guy that he's been after quite a bit, really hard, number 25 safety in the country, and certainly one of his top targets. And this is a guy who's got 2 already committed. Eli Johnson was one of his top targets. Eli Johnson out of Texas, the number 13 safety in the country. You got Angelo Smith, and Angelo is, it's one of these cases where, like, look, if Angelo hits a growth spurt, which is very possible, Jeremiah hit one later in life. He's never going to be Jeremiah's size, but all he needs, he's 5'8" now. He needs a 3.5-inch growth spurt. And he's there because he's a hell of a football player. If that doesn't happen, probably not going to play at Ohio State. But you're rolling the dice there with a guy that you normally wouldn't recruit a 5'8" safety. So you got Eli Johnson, you got Angelo. You're going to want to add one more. And Jaden certainly wants him most, I would say. I really like Caleb Elkins as well. A lot of people think Kanaz Sullivan out of Virginia is the guy. But if I had to pick right now in my mock class right now, it's Adrian Cole out of Georgia, the number 20 safety in the country, to join Eli Johnson and Angelo Smith. Now, the David Gabriel George situation rolls on. This dude is out here showing his workouts recently. And David Gabriel George posted a 600-pound squat where he got about 3/4 of the way to parallel. He posted a 375-pound bench, and he posted a 700-pound deadlift with that cheater deadlift bar that I don't even know what that means with that bar. I only know real deadlift numbers. So I don't know, but that bar, you can do a lot more, I guess. It's the bar where you stand in the center of it and the grips are on the side. But the squat, absolutely legit. And the interesting part when I'm watching that squat is throwing 600 pounds on your back. Just to move your feet like that when you're moving back is something that is amazing. When you see a guy with that much weight on, the feet usually move like this going back, right? Just to get in your stance to go down in the squat. And Gabriel George just kind of walks it back so smooth. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, that is so much weight pushing your body into the ground that was really impressive. And then, of course, a 375 bench at his age, incredibly impressive. And you get the feeling that he's not just a dude with exceptional talent on the football field, but probably also has that level of work ethic that Jeremiah brings. And if that's the case, I'm sure that the Buckeye crew can spot it. And if that's the case, I'm sure they're not going to let him go. They're not going to let him go. Not after 2 years affecting 2 classes of running back recruiting, and as high on him as they seem to be. This guy's going to be a Buckeye, man. I'm feeling really confident, even more so after watching that video. So good news there. Also, some quick footage on where Larry Johnson was a couple days ago out at Sierra Canyon in California, checking out 2 of his top tackles on the board in Kazi Curry, the big traditional tackle body at 6'5", 330 pounds, the number 2 tackle in the country, and Marcus Fakatuo, who is 6'7", 280 and a lot leaner. Here's what Marcus looks like with a little bull rush inside. Oh! That's Kazi next to him there. Let's watch Marcus again. You can see Kazi there in the white tank, and you can see the size of the lineman that Marcus is doing this to. Nonetheless, it's still really impressive. I mean, maybe not impressive, but fun to watch. You can just see the power in those 2 dudes. A couple of monsters, man, on the same defensive line, which is pretty wild stuff. James Laurinaitis with Kalen Bailey. Kalen Bailey, the top 1,200 player in the country, a 3-star that's only rated by 1 service, and a kid out of Glenville with a ton of burst. We've watched this film before. We watched it again on Buckhead Primetime last night. But a little video of James just messing around with him up at Glenville to kind of get the sense for his physique. And when I look at his physique, I wasn't expecting him to be quite this big from his film. So this made me really happy seeing this. Now, seeing him just next to James, this is a well-built young athlete, man. And he is a lot bigger than I thought he was in pads. So really exciting, because I do think that he is almost 100% in this class as a linebacker with James, not as an edge. So love that. James also went and saw Prince Goldsby. I think we talked about Prince Goldsby. So we know that Prince Goldsby, AJ Randall is coming in for an official, and Bailey going to be in the class. So we're looking at Quentin Cypher Bailey, I think, and then one of AJ Randall, Prince Goldsby, and that would be another magnificent class for James Laurinaitis. We have watched over the last couple of years the top 2 DBs in the state of Ohio flee the state. Last year, Rock Hill, Vic Singleton to USC and Texas A&M. This year, Sebastian Telfair and Ace Alston to Penn State and Notre Dame. But would you believe it if there's not 2 more Ohio State worthy cornerbacks in the state, which is just amazing. And we start with Montana Torbert out of Princeton High School in Cincinnati. He is a top 150 overall, but also, like those 4 I just mentioned, under 6 foot tall. And that's kind of the reason why I don't think Walt pursued any of them very hard. They're bigger money guys, but all under 6 foot. Montana Torbert is committed to Indiana right now, and he is actively trying to flip Torbert. And that's interesting stuff. Also, after Deontay Malone hard. Deontay Malone, a top 300 kid who is 6 foot, and he's out of Massillon. And I love his film. Corner class, where, and I've been talking about it for a while, you're going to take more of a, we're going to find guys that we believe in and develop in this class because we just went hard and got some dogs. In that addition of Dominic Kelly, who now is basically Devin Sanchez's running mate in the class of 2025, you got 2 outside corners to pair now with freshman Jordan Thomas and your stud Jay Timmons at nickel. So this is a class where you can get a couple of guys. You don't got to go get the top tier corner, and you could take that money and put those extra cents over to David Gabriel George, etc. Marcus Fakatua, wherever you go with it, where you want to load up. And I think this strategy is a great way to spend the money on positions where you really need it each class, when you identify what positions you need versus which ones you can get away with maybe going to find that guy. And maybe that guy turns out, which in a lot of cases, luckily for us, it has, as the scouting department has been absolutely crushing it at Ohio State. And then we got the quarterback situation. The quarterback situation, man, this one's, I did a show like 3 weeks ago, and I was talking about this quarterback situation, and that it just felt very off to me that Ohio State was going after Champ Mons so hard, or going after a second quarterback so hard, and it didn't feel right, and it didn't really make sense. And some of you guys said I was being ridiculous. Of course, they want a second quarterback. Why wouldn't you? It's twice the opportunity to hit. Well, it's not 2015. You got to pay 2 quarterbacks top tier money to sit on the bench, not just 1 year, but they're going to battle it out year number 2. So they're going to be sitting on the bench, both of them, probably 2 years. And that's 2 years of wasted quarterback money for one of them, at least, because he's going to transfer. You're going to get nothing out of that money. And it just didn't follow their MO. That's not the way they operate. So we see them miss on Champ Mons. And then my question was, all right, is it just about Champ Mons, or do they really want a second quarterback? Because Champ, they had invested time and effort and built a relationship for the class of 28. Then he reclassified to 2027. So it makes sense that you would pursue him. So Champ commits to Notre Dame. And what we've seen in the last week since Champ Mons committed to Notre Dame is Ohio State quarterback coach Billy Fessler go and see a couple of quarterbacks throw. And by a couple, I mean the quarterback who is committed to Oklahoma, Miami, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and about 4 others. Like 9 quarterbacks he's gone and watched throw. It looks like a frantic tour around the country from Billy Fessler to find a quarterback. You don't do that for the second quarterback if you believe fully in the first one. That's just my opinion on it. That would be highly, highly unusual activity if you fully believed in your first guy to be going so hard after this second quarterback when it's not even necessary. So we saw Brady Edmonds go visit UCLA a couple of times over the spring. And then just yesterday, he posted this. Now, I said, if Ohio State wasn't so publicly after Champ Mons, 0 chance Brady posts a picture like this when he's out here peer recruiting. and zero chance he even visits them in the spring if he thinks that everything is locked in the way he originally thought it was locked in at Ohio State. And now we've got some more news as Rivals Adam Gorney has talked to Brady. In his takeaway from that conversation, he reported that Brady is not against a second quarterback in the class, but he also wants communication on what's happening and who's being pursued. Who's being pursued is the important part of that, because if you're someone who's committed and you don't care, then you don't care who's being pursued. That doesn't matter to you. If you had the attitude of, I would have to compete with someone if they were a 26 or a 28, so what do I care if it's a guy in my class? Like, if that was the attitude, why would you care who it is? Gorney also said that he gleaned from the conversation that Brady feels that unless there are other official visits booked, everything's fine. So says he thinks he's fine with another quarterback unless there's other official visits booked. Well, if you're fine with another quarterback, then why wouldn't you be fine with another official? Sounds to me what that would mean is if it's basically a throw-in 3-star that you don't schedule an official with, then we're good. I don't know. I don't know how else to explain that. But like I said a month ago, none of this felt right then. And boy, you guys shouted me down. I had some bad comments from you guys about that one. I think I was right. I think I was absolutely right. This is not going to end up like we thought it was going to end up 6 months ago at the quarterback position. Ohio State furiously touring the country to try to get a quarterback in this class. And the question then is, okay, is it trying to get a second quarterback or is it really trying to get a replacement quarterback? I believe they would accept Brady's commitment no matter what because of, look, they obviously believe somewhat in him, but I also don't care a ton about this because to me, quarterback recruiting, as I shared with you last week when we talk about 6 quarterbacks remain out of the top 25 quarterbacks in Julian Sain's class at their first school, it's just becoming less and less likely as we move forward in this system that Ohio State's going to have situations where you've got a Tavian St. Clair who you recruited out of high school, sat on your bench 2 years, and then emerged as your starter. It's also clear, the statistics back up and the data backs up, that starting a guy in his first year is not going to win you a championship. You got to have a guy in his second year or a guy who started a couple years somewhere else. And that's the only way you're going to win a championship, running through this gauntlet against all these teams that do have quarterbacks who have started before in college football, because that experience means so much to these young guys in the game. So that particular fact would have just torched me up inside like a year ago. The thought that this system that I love, the quarterback, the guy comes in and does the Tavian St. Clair route, is probably not going to be the route that you end up winning national championships with moving forward. And you're going to have to eventually go more the Will Howard style, but hopefully you want a guy who starts 1 year. And don't forget now, we got the 5 years of eligibility coming, which means you can get a guy who ends up starting in year 2 and plays 4 more years as a starting quarterback. And that opens up a whole new can of worms and new possibilities. So if you get a guy who starts even in his 3rd year, now you're still looking at, okay, he's coming in, he's got 2 years potentially for us instead of what would just be 1. So exciting stuff there. But anyway, regarding quarterback, this just all feels off. Everything about it feels off. We'll find out what happens here relatively soon, I think. But certainly they're trying to get an official scheduled. There's no doubt about that. And if that's going to be a problem for Brady, I think we'll start seeing him schedule officials here soon too. So there we have it. That's that with that. I do appreciate you guys for joining me on the weekend. A couple of your comments here. I did put together a graphics with a bunch of your comments because we're going to do or a bunch of your emails. We're going to do a mailbag show here coming up, probably our next show. But I just had a couple here. Manfred with a comment that made me absolutely laugh out loud, which is rare. I legitimately laughed out loud when I read Manfred say, Ohio State would let Michigan put a patch on their jersey if they paid enough. And then our guy, Evan, who started with a compliment, and always important. Like, this is tact, man. When you're going to rip somebody apart, always say something nice first. Always say something nice and then proceed to ripping them apart. Here we go. Evan did not like my top 25 video. Juck, you do great work, but I got a couple problems with your top 25. Florida should not be in your top 25. He doesn't give an explanation as to why he feels that way. Ole Miss is way too highly ranked. New head coach, lost all their talent in the portal. There is a possibility that they could have replaced some of that talent there, my friend. There is a possibility of that. Also, that the head coach just coached in the playoffs, so a little bit of experience. Why isn't Illinois ranked? They won their bowl game, and they have a veteran head coach. Love Brett Bielema. I think he's fantastic, but it's kind of a rebuild year for Illinois, in my opinion. They did just bring in a great class by their standards, and I do think that they are going to rebuild and relatively quickly. But this year, I think they're going to be a little down. Oklahoma lost to Alabama in the playoffs. Why are they ranked ahead of Bama? Because Bama most likely going to be starting a freshman quarterback, and I don't feel great about that. Oklahoma, on the other hand, second year starting quarterback, second year offensive coordinator, and a defense that is way more dominant than Bama's. What did LSU deserve to be 17? New coach and quarterback, and they haven't won anything and don't deserve the benefit of the doubt. A ranking isn't an award to me. I don't. This is not something that you earn, that you deserve, and it's not an award. It's how good do I think, or the ranker think, you're going to be this year. So they didn't do anything to deserve it, but that's not the way I think about it. Next question. OSU shouldn't be number one. It should be Indiana, Notre Dame, or even Texas. I'm going to use your logic against you here, sir. If Ohio State shouldn't be number one, it should be Indiana or Notre Dame or even Texas. What did Notre Dame or Texas do to deserve being number one by missing the playoffs last year? And finally, putting Indiana at number 7 seems like you're doubting Cignetti as a head coach and his offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, who he has kept since becoming IU's head coach. Or I could be doubting his talent, because while Curt Cignetti did win the national championship in year 2, with what everybody thought was inferior talent going into the year, it wasn't. He had some great football players on that team, and a lot of them left. And I don't think that he's been able to backfill. And I actually think that this year will probably be the worst roster he has in his entire tenure moving forward, because I think that it will continue to get stronger. But this particular year, I think they take a drop back in talent, and I still got him in the top 10. It's pretty doggone good. And I also said, I think like the top 8 teams can win a national championship. So I still think he can. But anyway, that's my explanation. Appreciate you guys. Please like the show. Please subscribe if you have not already. Just helps us out on this side a lot. Helps you find shows easier. And if you want some more stuff, if you are, matter of fact, if you're a YouTube member to the Juck on Bucks YouTube channel, I appreciate you guys so much, but I want you to get more for that money. Come over to Substack, join the Juck on Bucks Substack, and you're going to get a lot more for that money. That goes for everybody. Come over to the Juck on Bucks Substack, check it out. There's free stuff you can check out, and that will continue to happen. There's also paid stuff and insider stuff that happens over there as well. And I've been working a lot at it because it gives me an outlet to just thumb out a quick couple of paragraphs on something and pump it out. And that's not something I would usually do for a show or for an entire article that I would put on Buckeye Huddle, etc. But there are also are full-length articles. And when I get enough, I'm going to also do videos over there as well. But right now there's just a few, so it would be silly to do a video. But check us out over there on the Juck on Bucks Substack. Whether that be free or as a paid subscriber. Either way, I want to see you guys over there. So appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Juck on Bucks out.